The small town of Rockford had always been a quiet place, where everyone knew each other and where secrets rarely stayed buried. It was a town of wide streets, modest homes, and a single main road lined with family-owned businesses that had been passed down through generations. The kind of place where neighbors still waved at each other, where the biggest scandal was a high school couple sneaking off after curfew. But that all changed when the murders started. Detective Mark Calloway had seen his fair share of crime, but nothing like this. The first victim, Danny Brooks, had been found in his own backyard, slumped against a wooden fence, his throat sliced clean through. The killer had been precise, too precise for it to be a crime of passion. Mark stood near the body, hands in his coat pockets, watching as the forensic team combed through the scene. The victim's house was dark, the lights from the police cruisers casting eerie shadows against the siding. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle inside. "Looks like he knew the killer," his partner, Jessica Hart, muttered, flipping through a small notepad. Mark nodded. And whoever did this knew exactly how to kill him fast. No hesitation, no mess beyond what was necessary. That was the part that stuck with him, the efficiency. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was a message. As the team bagged evidence, Mark caught something strange. A small, folded note tucked into Danny's pocket. He carefully pulled it out, unfolding it to reveal just 4 words. "You know what you did." Mark frowned, passing the note to Jessica. "What the hell did Danny do?" Jessica sighed. "Guess we better start digging." Danny Brooks had been a beloved figure in Rockford, a former high school football star, turned local businessman. He owned a small auto repair shop, had a wife and kid, and by all accounts, no enemies. But Mark had been a cop long enough to know that everyone had something to hide. It didn't take long to discover that Danny hadn't always been the golden boy people believed him to be. Back in high school, he ran with a close-knit group: Jason Carter, Luke Calloway, Matt Reynolds, and Eric Palmer. They were inseparable back then, always getting into trouble but never quite crossing the line into real crime. Until they did. It was Jessica who found it, buried in an old case file from 20 years ago. A missing persons report: Michael Weaver, a high school senior, vanished without a trace in 2005. He was friends with them, Jessica said, pointing at a faded yearbook photo. Michael was part of their group. Mark stared at the smiling faces in the picture. And now one of them is dead. "Think this is connected?" Jessica shrugged. "We need to talk to the rest of them." They didn't get the chance. Before they could even track down the other old friends, another murder rocked the town. Jason Carter was found in his home, a single gunshot wound to the head, execution style. And just like before, the killer left a note. "You know what you did." Now it was undeniable, someone was hunting these men down. Mark and Jessica tracked down the remaining 3, Luke, Matt, and Eric, who had all stayed in town. Each of them reacted differently to the news. Luke, now a quiet schoolteacher, turned pale, shaking his head as if trying to forget something. "It can't be. It was an accident." Matt, a successful lawyer, was less composed, pacing his office. "We were kids. It wasn't supposed to go that far." Eric, the most visibly shaken, barely managed to get words out. "He's back. He's come back for us." Mark pressed him. "Who? Who's back?" Eric hesitated before whispering, "Michael." The name sent a chill down Mark's spine. Michael Weaver, the missing teenager. Could it be possible? Had he survived? Pushing harder, Mark and Jessica finally got the truth out of them. 20 years ago, the 5 friends had played a cruel prank on Michael during a summer camping trip. It was supposed to be harmless, tying him up, leaving him in the woods for a night to scare him. But something went wrong. The next morning, Michael was gone. They searched, panicked, but never found him. Out of fear, they made a pact never to speak of it again. "Nobody would have believed us," Matt said. "So we buried it. We moved on." Mark clenched his jaw. Except someone didn't move on. As Mark and Jessica prepared to protect the remaining 3, they found something chilling: a newspaper clipping from out of town, dated just 5 years ago. A story about a man who had survived a near-fatal accident, his identity unknown, found wandering the woods, suffering from amnesia. Could Michael have survived all these years? Before they could piece it together, another scream echoed through Rockford. Calloway was dead. And the killer was far from finished.